Sean, thank you so much for joining in. And today we are very, very excited. I'm personally very excited. I feel like a student again, back to college on the learning mode, because we have two of the most special guests that have arrived till now. So our first guest is Dr. Eva-Marie Müller-Stüler. So Dr. Eva-Marie is a global leader in artificial intelligence and data science. And she is the founder of Hummingbird Group. Previously, she led data and AI practice for Ernst & Young, EY, in the Middle East and North Africa. With over 2 decades of experience, she is known for pioneering concepts like Center of Excellence, COE, and data ecosystems. A mathematician and a former CTO for artificial intelligence at IBM, Dr. Müller specializes in integrating transformative technologies such as agentic AI and generative AI to drive digital transformation for enterprise and governments. She has co-developed ethical AI policies for United Nations and UNESCO and has been recognized as world's best data scientist in 2020 and one of the top 10 most influential women in technology in 2021. A sought-after advisor, keynote speaker, and advocate for diversity in STEM, she continues to shape the future of ethical AI. So welcome, Dr. Eva.
Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very amazed to have this time together today.
Perfect. And our host on the other end is my friend, Swarnendu De, otherwise also called as Sean. He is a co-founder of multiple tech companies, including AllRide, Innofide, and others. And he's a seasoned SaaS and AI leader who has spent nearly 2 decades building intelligent software systems for Fortune 500 companies and fast-scaling startups. He's an author of best-selling technology books and the upcoming press title on AI in business automation, and a creator of Smart SaaSy Webinar Series dedicated towards advancing the craft of building smarter products. Sean brings a rare blend of product vision, architecture, real-world execution, and experience to every conversation on technology and innovation. So welcome on board, Swarnendu. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ritesh.
So I'll give it to you, Sean. You can take over from here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ritesh, for the warm welcome. And thank you so much, Dr. Eva, for joining us in our Smart SaaSy Webinar Series. Today, we are going to be talking about a very, very burning question that almost every consumer or business owners have today. Okay, and that is how our data is protected in the AI era. Like, we have been using so many applications, so many AI tools, right? So on the consumer side, we are continuously asking questions, providing our information to all these AI tools, right? On the other side, there are so many different business owners building products on the top of all these existing AI APIs, right? OpenAI, or maybe Anthropic, or maybe Perplexity. And also, we are continuously using a lot of open source models, right? Which are all listed on Hugging Face or similar type of platforms. Now, our challenges are we do not exactly know how AI or whoever we are providing all this data to, how they are consuming data, how they are memorizing that part of the data, and how they are exposing data to the world, right? So we are very concerned, okay, and we are trying to see that how we can ensure that our data is not leaked to the public, right? How our data is not creating any compliance issue or any legal issue in the future. And that is what we are going to be talking today. And Dr. Eva has so much experience in this area, so we will be speaking about what are the challenges there and how these challenges can be overcome on a higher level and in a deeper level. So Dr. Eva, you have spent so many years working with AI at the global level, right? So I would like to first understand, and also I would like for our audience to know that what first got you interested in this space, and why do you think that this topic of trust in AI matters so much today?
Oh, I love that question. So I think what got me into AI was actually I'm a mathematician by heart, and I love applying mathematics to real world problems. And I started my career in building a team that was focused on financial modeling and really understanding if interest rate increases by 5%, if I take an additional loan, if I close down this area of my business, how does it actually show the effect of balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow statement? And it was absolutely fascinating to see with very simple math in Excel that you could cover all these points, which in a world that is as complex as ours, it's impossible for the CEO to actually see all the triggering effect. And with financial modeling, we suddenly saw, hold on, but in this contract, if we shift from the contract from our business partners to our own, we end up paying more penalty than we actually make revenue. So that strategy wouldn't work. And so that was how I started in it, and really saw with better data, with more information, we can make better business decisions. And then it took over on realizing the more data we actually have, the better our decisions can be. So we started building connected ecosystems. And during my time in London, the first ecosystem that I built was actually for an investment fund that was invested in anything to do with life. And in the early 2000s or late 2000s, the companies only had one probability when people are dying for all of America. And you realize by getting more information about how rich is that person, how many people in that area have health insurance and how many don't, how much do they spend on food, how much disposable incomes do they have, do they go to the gym or not? We were actually able to change these actuary tables to give us a head start in the valuation of our products. So we were much better to understand where we actually think we make money with and where we don't, and sell all the products to the market that we don't saw successful. And then during KPMG in 2013, I set up Europe's first data science and AI team. And at that time, it was the Wild West pre-GDPR. We had massive web scrollers who were taking everything information that we could find, property prices going up or down in which area in the UK. We had transport for London information, we had healthcare information, we had weather information, street view information. And we called one of the world's biggest telco and asked them, can we have all your customer data? And their reaction was not why, or their question was, okay, but how? So we didn't sign an MOU or anything with them. We just sent an intern over. And we were able to really feed our model with precisely knowing who's where on a postcode basis, and saying, okay, you know what? With that, we can actually really outperform our marketing campaigns. We know the average household in that area is a family with 4 kids. So large discounts, for example, buy 10 cans of Coke and pay only 10, they work. But in this area, it's only single households. A campaign like that, no single household would buy 12 cans of Coke. And we used it for intelligence services, for fraud detection, for medical forecasting, with safety information, insurance, student dropout, and so on. At that time, the idea of ethical AI didn't really exist because the idea of AI didn't really exist. It was only when I was actually interviewing with Cambridge Analytica, and at that time, the scandals or the first reports about look at what Cambridge Analytica might be able to do, they came to the market, and that started triggering a concern with me and everyone else and saying, hold on, how much are we actually sharing? Is it actually ethical to understand so much about people and influence them so much? And even though it is now proven that Cambridge Analytica was not able to claim what they were saying in their really aggressive marketing, what they were doing, that triggered for me and also for a lot of people in the UK and the rest of the world, the thinking about, okay, how do we make sure AI is ethical? And that's how I started working with governments and saying, you know, just deleting certain data is actually not enough. If you just delete the column of race, religion, then that was our first, we just say we delete that as input data so we don't know that. But you have a lot of proxies. So you know, if you know certain medication, you know if they're men or female, because there are different drugs for men and women, shopping behavior and so on. And so on that side, we realized, okay, how do we make sure that AI is safe and ethical going forward?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Eva, for providing the complete context. And we absolutely understand that. And we are seeing, we are more like on the user side, right? So we are dependent on all these companies or all these tools who are providing us all these capabilities, right? But the insider information make us enriched and help us use all these AI tools in a better way, right? So one question I would like to understand, this is something when I tried to keep on understanding about the data security and the concerns around this, I found out that there are different layers are there in terms of understanding how complex it can be. And whenever someone is asking me about the concern, I'm immediately giving them a very high level answer. Often, you know, they do not even understand that this high level answer because it becomes a bit technical. And then the next levels are all very deep to get complete clarity on how an AI model is using the data, right? So my question is like, why it is so hard for us, even the experts, to fully understand how AI is making decisions and how this data is being really saved or memorized by it so that it can be leaked at a later point of time, or if there is a specific way of ensuring that AI only remembers what we want it to.
Oh, that's a really good question. So there are multiple answers actually. So currently with a lot of the large language models, we don't know what data they're trained on, and the companies are not disclosing it. There is the theory, and I'm saying it's a theory because we have not been able to prove it yet, that none of these large language models are actually GDPR compliant. Because they have so much information about people, about publications, about books, and so on, that are taken out of context, are not protecting the IP, and are going cross borders. So in that nutshell, we don't know, and I think that is an absolute risk that we have to be aware of. And it also shows how immature we as people are, or as a society, on this conversation, because we have the frameworks and the legal frameworks and say it needs to be transparent, but we all are 100% okay with using tools that are unlawful after the EU AI Act, where we are not sure about where they're actually standing. And we are also seeing the weaknesses we see in the laws is we have the laws, but we actually don't have an executive to go in and prove that they're compliance. So that is on the one hand. On the other hand, from the algorithmic side, where it works is that a lot of these tools are interfering a similarity between the words, so that a cat and a dog, for example, are closer together than a spoon or a plate, which might be further away from the distance. And so it's very much on a likelihood of words. But with things like that, for example, we often say AI needs to be accurate. We don't have a clear definition on what an accuracy of a large language actually means. If it gives you a completely wrong sentence of it's okay to eat a certain amount of stones a day, which is actually even dangerous and harmful, where's that ranking in the accuracy compared to the balance sheet number is 1,100 instead of 1,000, where there's a small error in there, or 10%. So all these questions we still have to answer, and we're actually running ahead in a gray area. In the past, models were very simple, especially the one in Excel. You could see if I increase this number by 10%, the outcome increases by 20%, or things like that. With a vast amount of data and the way they work, we have no capability at the moment to actually look inside the hood. And that drives massive risk for companies to use them.
Okay, understood. Great.
And,
So
and sorry,
in
for
general,
companies and actually also for us as humans, both.
Absolutely. I have, like, this is a question I get from multiple top enterprises. Plus, I also have this question because I have been researching about it and talking to others as well. Now, this question is majorly around all these top AI API companies like OpenAI or Anthropic, right? Now, their policies change depending on how things are changing, right? And they are also facing a lot of legal battles, right? So we have seen that some of their older models had certain issues which they have rectified later, but for the older models, how they have used the data, they have already had to pay a huge amount of fine. Right now, I want to understand that you have worked with UN, UNESCO, and large enterprises, right? And I'm sure that some of them are using probably all these top APIs, right? So how all these large enterprises ensure that their data do not get leaked or do not get compromised, even when they are working with such big companies like OpenAI or Anthropic?
Yeah, so there are different ways of setting it up. And what we saw at the beginning is everyone went to the website, uploaded their company's programming code and everything else. All the IP was leaked within seconds. And the models were very, very happy for the free training that they got. This is now set to be fixed by saying, okay, we can set it up either by having a learning environment and having the IPAs and then learning in a safe environment, or we can even say we're just using the API, we're not feeding anything back. With the concern of how well can I trust it, I think that's the thing with every single contract that you have. You have to trust the person you're having the contract with for being ethical and being honest about that. Having said that, I think the biggest corporate risk for companies nowadays is actually being seen as non-ethical. When we look back, and I'm coming up with it again because it's nearly 10 years ago now that we had the Cambridge Analytica scandal. They didn't lose their company. The company completely failed and crashed. And it wasn't because they were actually doing something wrong. It was because people were thinking they were doing something wrong. So the company was shut down even before the investigation. And after the investigation, nothing really was found that they were doing wrong or illegal. It was Facebook getting fined. But Facebook came away, okay, with a 5 billion fine, but they're still around. And I think that is something we have to keep in mind, that companies, even us ourselves as startups, we have a serious interest in being ethical and letting people trust us. And I think, I hope that this is the main reason why when ChatGPT and all the others say in our APIs, when you sign these contracts in these environments and so on, these are our terms and conditions, and we're not feeding it back, that it's not being fed back, because the competition for these models is harsh at the moment. And if one of them, there's a whistleblower or it leaks that they are not ethical, they are actually in breach of their contract, it will probably destroy the company.
Absolutely. And this has happened, right? We have seen that, so many companies are continuously having this type of issues. And that is one of the major concern all these bigger enterprises have. Whenever they are building products, they are concerned about their customer data will be leaked. Now, before AI, they had some knowledge about how their data is being saved, right? But later, when AI is there and how the AI model is being trained, now they have very less clarity around how a particular model or LLM is going to be saving that data or memorizing that data, even after probably the training data is removed, right? So I would like to understand a little bit from the technical point of view, because we work with so many developers and so many product owners, right? So whenever someone is building an AI product, do you have any suggestion or piece of advice that what we should be following, maybe any framework or something to ensure that the data is protected?
So for most important, I think ethics should not be an afterthought. ethics should be something right at the beginning in the conceptual phase. And it's really clear on like saying, how do we make it sure it is, we're doing the right thing? How do we make sure it is trusted? How do we ensure that there is a human in the loop? And then transparency and the privacy is protected, the security is there. And especially with large language models, the security level is actually not that easy. I have seen clients where they were like, you know, it's really easy for us because we are ring-fenced against the outside. But then you're still not ring-fenced against the inside, and you're still not ring-fenced against an employee saying, oh, you know what, I'm leaving the company soon. What can I find on our internal AI solutions about company IP that I can take with me to my next employer? And this awareness of these are new risks that we are facing. The old risk was, okay, somebody would download something from our data. The new risk is somebody would use our AI models to get our insights and just take screenshots and take it with them. So, and we have to rethink cybersecurity on that side, on saying how do we include the error that is induced by the humans.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, this makes us, we know that, we have to have a lot of knowledge about how our data is being used, and we have to be cautious. So, as we mentioned, that the ethics and knowing that our data can be misused, and it is said that, if your data is hitting any third-party APIs or any AI APIs, then your data is not your data anymore. So, you have to be very cautious about how your data is being given to any of these tools or any of these third parties. So before we go to the next question, everyone, we are almost at the end of this webinar. It's a short webinar. We have another 5 minutes. If you have any question, please write it down on the chat window, okay, so that Dr. Eva can take it.
So I'd actually like to say, it doesn't mean if you're building something using the AI that your data is being leaked. I'd actually say it's more likely that the companies that you're dealing with are ethical and sticking to the terms and conditions. But you cannot be 100% sure, and that's why we need trust in the market. But our capitalism society always worked on the basis of trust. We trust that we pay each other's bills, and we trust that we stick to the contracts.
Exactly. So, I mean, whenever we are building products and we are trying to see that how our training data is being used, the type of knowledge base we are providing to all these AI LLMs, right? We are learning the best practices, right? And after we learn certain level of best practices, we create all these layers, like we ensure that none of the contact information, go to in the training data. There are masking available. So there are certain level of certain strategies are there to ensure that we are not providing AI everything, we are not exposing it with all the data. Maybe, there can be another webinar with going deeper into it. But I would also like to understand, Dr. Eva, from the consumer point of view, we are discussing about majorly from the bigger companies and how their APIs, how products can be built. Now, from the consumer point of view, the consumers have a much lesser idea about it, right? We are continuously putting our photos, we are asking it to change photos, providing data. So, from the consumer point of view, what type of concerns are there? What we should be careful about before providing any such information to all these tools like Perplexity or ChatGPT or any such type of chatting tools?
I think with every single tool, every app that you download on your phone, every time you share data, there are terms and conditions that nobody reads because they're far too long and far too complicated. But there is a risk of, may it be a photo editing app. You don't know where that photo ends up. So be 100% sure that you are only sharing things you are also okay with being in the public domain. Everything you put on LinkedIn as your CV is common knowledge for everybody because everybody can look it up, but also people can use it through their APIs. And keep that in mind whenever you're uploading something to any other large language model. Are you okay with that picture being reused and reused? Are you okay with that video clip being reused? Or that private information? The problem is that it makes your life so much easier and so often so much fun that in the moment we're thinking, you know, who cares? I just upload all my medical records with my name on it, because why should they use it against me? Who should do something like that? Or I just upload all these pictures because I want to send them to my friends, and I quickly want to, I don't know, remove the dark circles under my eyes or put on stronger makeup. And so in the moment, we don't think about deep fakes, about the implication it can have to our safety, and that it might end up with a bad actor calling our parents and pretending to be us, using our voice, pretending to be us, and our parents sending all their money to get us out of prison, for example. So these deep fakes that we see in use for fraudsters, for governments, and so on, are becoming a real issue. And it is very difficult for us consumer to prevent that this will not happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Eva. I mean, this is really helpful, and we needed this type of guidance, and you have been there. You are associated with so many UN, UNESCO, and so many enterprises, right? So your voice, your advice is going to be very useful for every one of us. We have only 1 minute left, so I'll not stretch it further. Ritesh, it has been a wonderful discussion, and I'm sure that probably in the next webinar with Dr. Eva, we can go deeper into the data security aspect. But you know, I'm done with all my questions, and I'll give it back to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sean. It was a wonderful discussion. You know, I think this is just a warm-up. You know, it's like a warm-up exercise before the actual, marathon exercise that's going to come through. But I sincerely, personally also feel that people have more questions than answers nowadays, right?
Yes.
What should I build? How should I build? What should I do? I mean, there are so many questions, and many a times they come down to people like us, and we don't have all the answers. And now that I have listened to Dr. Eva, I sincerely now believe that nobody has all the answers. But if we can, collaborate and try to answer us, and try to enrich our understanding to this subject, I think we will, find a lot of answers in the coming days. So thank you so much, Dr. Eva. It is such a enlightening session. Just to listen to you, I've been out by just listening to you talk. I feel that this information is going to go out and help a lot of people, and I really sincerely look forward to more such discussions. So thank you so much, Dr. Eva, and thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much, Ritesh, for having me, and thank you, Sean, for the excellent questions.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.